everybody, and welcome to my sewing room. If you haven't been here before, my name is Rosemary, and on this channel we do a whole lot of different kinds of sewing. We do some embroidery with the embroidery machines, and sometimes we bring in a new sewing machine and show you how it works. So for those of you who have been watching some of my videos, you know I haven't done one in a little while, and I'm really sorry about that. My computer crashed. I had to go out and buy a whole new computer, and it was a very harrowing experience for me, especially since I had to put all my software back on the new computer. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad that we're back and we're able to do things. We're in the middle of August. August is my birthday month, so it's also a very busy month for me for that as well. Today I thought what we would do is do a little bit of applique. I know I've done applique on videos before. I've showed you how to do it on the Stellaire, and I've showed you how to do it on the PE design software. But I thought we'd do another one today, and if you don't have an embroidery machine or you don't have PE design software, please don't turn off this video, because I am going to show you a little bit of how to do it on your basic sewing machine, show you what kind of foot that you need to do it, and end up with a cute little project when you're done. One of the things that made me want to do this is I've been working on some appliques from some books that I found, and this one is called Bee Attitudes Art to Heart, and it has a whole lot of really cute little appliques, and it's got some lettering already in it, and it's got like a little snowman in it, and all you have to do is trace it around, cut it out of fabric, and then sew it onto a quilt square, and you can end up with a real cute little quilt. And one of the things I want to tell the people that come to Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum, which is where I work, is I'm going to do a class called Thank God It's Friday. And in that class, we're going to encourage you to bring the quilts that you're working on so you can get a little bit of help. You have a little bit of space, an iron, a cutting board, all the things that you need to make a quilt. And if you need a little bit of instruction, just a little bit of help, we'll be there. And if you don't have an idea of what you want to learn, is we're going to start out by doing some applique quilts. So that should be a lot of fun. If you want to, check it out in the Arvada store. We're going to be doing it. But so we have this book here, and we also have this. It's called Tilda's Toy Box, which is a great little book. I just love it. It's just full of a whole lot of different kinds of little stuffed animals and appliques and purses and stuff. And hopefully I'll be doing something with this book in Sew Fun when I start doing Sew Fun next year. But I wanted to show you that there's a cute little monkey in here. That's a monkey applique, and I'll take a picture of it and show you a little close-up of it in the corner. But it's a little monkey applique that I'm going to put on a pillow. So this would be a really fun one to do as well. So let's go ahead and just learn a few steps on how to take an applique from a book. You'll notice that in the books, in the back, they'll have the pattern pieces. Look at this page. This is a crazy page. They overlap everything because they want to be able to fit all those patterns in there, where you can't just scan that straight into your Stellaire sewing machine. You're going to have to trace it. So I found the pieces that were right for the monkey, and I used just a black Sharpie, and I traced it. You could trace it really slowly and get a really good tracing, and then put that in your Stellaire sewing machine and turn it into an embroidery just like that. But I don't have a stable hand. When I trace, it gets a little wobbly. So I want to put it in my PE design software so I can make some adjustments. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to move the camera, and I'm going to show you how you can put this in your Stellaire, and then we're going to go to the PE design software, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So give me a minute. Okay, so this is what I did. I took a piece, this is heat and bond, and I want to use heat and bond because after I trace this and put it in my machine, I want to iron it onto a piece of fabric to make it a lot easier. So what I did was I laid it over this crazy page with all of these different patterns, and I traced it out. And then after I traced it, now I want to show you. This is another tracing I did. This is not as good. I kind of got a little wobbly and I overlapped here, but this is the part I'm going to put in my PE design. I don't care whether it's perfect or not. This one here, I tried to trace it as nice as I could without any wobbly lines. I did it nice and slow. I have my Stellaire hoop, and I don't even need the back. I don't need to put it in. I just had to have it around so that the app will work to take a picture. Then I'm going to, since I've got my phone actually videotaping this, I can't hold my phone over this. But you know how the app works. You hold it over the hoop, you take a picture of the whole thing, and then you hit it and you say send to machine. So that's what you're going to do from here. You're going to send this shape to your machine, and then we're going to move over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how to turn that into an embroidery. Okay, here we are at the Stellaire sewing machine, and we've opened it up to the main screen, and we're going to go to my design center. And in my design center, I'm going to look at I'm not going to go to this one because I'm not going to trace around this. I'm going to go to the line one. I want to see if I can't make this immediately into an embroidery design. So I'm going to say go here and touch this. And here's my drawing that I did. So I'm going to set that down. Now I'm going to take the parts I don't want out. I just want this part right here. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to set that down. Now, I want to do these one at a time. So the best way to do that is to put this in the memory, just like that. So it's in the memory. And, whoops, put it in the memory, not take it out of the memory. Okay, so now it's in the memory. So now I want to get rid of the tail so I can just do the body. So in order to do that, I need to put this right here. Whoops. Try this again. I want to get it so that I'm not getting the square. And hit cut. So now I just have this part here. Bring it over here. And I'm going to turn off the background so I can't see it. So now I have this. So what I want to do is I want to take it and I want to tell it that I just want to do a running stitch, and I'm going to make it purple. Say okay. Tap it. And now I'm going to hit next. Preview. Wait, cancel. Sorry. I always forget. I want to save this, so I'm going to put that in the memory as well. So I'm going to save that in the sewing machine. Now I'm going to hit next and preview. And I've got that set down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push add. And then I'm going to go back into my design center and go into the memory. And here's the other part. Set that down. And then I want to tell it to be a satin stitch. Say okay. Pour. Tap it. Hit next. Pick how wide I want that satin stitch to be. And hit set. And then hit preview. There's a satin stitch, so I'm going to hit set, okay, and now I've got a second one on top of that one. And if I pick this one up and move it, you'll see that the running stitch is underneath it. I could select the running stitch and duplicate that, so I have two of them, one on top of each other, and then this one on top of that one. Now I've just created an applique for the monkey body. That's just one part. And then I have to go back and do the head and the ears and the tail and everything else. So I could do this on my Stellaire sewing machine if I wanted to, but I want to do it in my PE design software. So give me a minute. I'm going to go in and open my PE design software. And I'm going to show you how much easier it is to do it on that. Okay, so before we go to the PE design software, one of the first things I have to do is I have to get this design from the book to my PE design software. So what I want to do is I want to trace it. So I did like I showed you a few minutes ago. I went in, I found the patterns in the back of the book. I traced them onto a piece of heat and bond. And then instead of taking a picture of it in the hoop like I did for the for the Stellaire sewing machine, I am going to put it in this. This is my scanning mat, and this is my scan and cut machine. And I can cut out my appliques with my scan and cut machine. It does a great job. But one of the other things I like it to do is to get pictures into my computer. And I've even taken photographs and put them in here and scanned them and put them in my computer, and it works great. So these are my drawings that I did, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to line it up right here, and I'm going to hit the load mat, and then I'm going to hit scan. And then there's this direct cut scan, there's the scan to cut data, but there's also one that says scan to USB. And I can hit that and then hit start. Okay, sorry about that. I had to go out and come back in again because my USB stick wasn't inserted correctly. So I got the USB in there now. So now all I have to do is push start, and it's going to actually scan. I have one of the older versions, so they're a little noisier than those new really great DX ones. And it says it saved it to the USB, and I'm going to say okay. And then all I have to do is take my USB stick out like this. I'm going to put it in my computer, and I'm going to open my PE design software, and this design that I just traced is going to come up on the screen. So it's really easy, and it makes things easy for me. Okay, I'm in my PE Design 10. And what we're going to do is we're going to use those images to create an embroidery design. So I'm going to close this wizard. I've got this set up for my 9.5 by 14 hoop that's in my Stellaire sewing machine. And I'm going to go up here, and hopefully you can see my mouse. I'm going to go up here to where it says image, and I'm going to open from file. And this is the image file that I scanned into my scan and cut. So I'm just going to choose one of them, and it should show me a preview of it here. And you can't really see it very good here, but once I hit open, you'll see it on the screen. So give it a second. Okay, so this is the image that I traced, and if I had traced it really nicely, I could probably just automatically turn it into an embroidery, but I want to be able to edit and adjust it, which is the biggest reason why I want to do it in my PE design software. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my home button, and I'm going to hit the magnifying glass, and I'm going to go around just one of these shapes here. So now I've got a close-up of this shape. Then I'm going to come up here to where it says shapes and click on it. And I could choose this one, which will make these rounded corners right here a little bit better. But I actually like to choose the first one. And the reason for that is if I left click right here and I left click here, then I can make little teeny tiny lines and get that curve exactly where I want it to be. And I've never been very good at doing it the other way with the curved ones. Now you'll see there's a dotted line going across the middle of the screen here. This dotted line is showing that this is going to close when I get finished going all the way around. Not only does that help me to know that it is going to close, but it also shows me where I started. So if you do this nice and slow and you click, left click, I'm left clicking my mouse every time you see this pause, and click and click and click, and then we'll come straight up this way and click and click and click and click. Now I'm close to the beginning. If I come over here and overcross, it's actually going to draw a line where it overcrossed itself. So I want to click close to but not right on it, and then double click, and it will close automatically. And I don't have to worry about it having like a massive stuff crossing over itself right here. And it made a nice shape. This is exactly what I want. But if I come back up here, and it automatically, when I close this, it changed this to the outline file right here. I can say I want this to be a running stitch, and I want this to do not sew. Oops, sorry about that. I have to hit the select button. Make sure the little black boxes are around it. Now I want to change this to a running stitch and change this one to do not sew. and it actually changed this time. So that does make a lot of difference if it's selected, if it changes. So this is the part that I like to do in my design, in my PE design software. If I'd go home and use my zoom button and get really close, then come back over here to where the selector button is and choose this part right here. It's going to put little boxes around it. And every time I click on one of these boxes and turn it black, I can move it to wherever I want it to be. So I can make adjustments to my wobbly line that I drew just by just moving these boxes around. I can smooth them out, pull them in, kind of just get an idea, make sure this is even and exactly the way I want it. If I feel like I need another line, like maybe I want another box right here, and I want to pull that out a little bit to make my curve a little bit curvier right here. Maybe I want to put one right here, make my line a little curvier. So you can add as many boxes as you want, and you can clean this up as much as you want to make it. Try and make this just a little bit more a nice curved line here. So once I've created this so that I've cleaned it up as best as I want it to be, or can I add a box there? There we go. Now we got a box. So there, that looks the way I want it to. I'm going to zoom out by hitting zoom all. And then I'm going to come back up here and put this back to a selector box. So now that's selected. Now what I want to do is I want to come up here to Applique Wizard and hit Applique Wizard. Now, excuse me, this first step is my placement line. The next one is going to sew the fabric down. If you've done applique with your with your embroidery machine, you know how that works. The next part here is going to add a V-stitch, which is going to basically almost do like a zigzag, holding the fabric down even better. And then the last step is going to do a satin stitch on there. And the satin stitch defaults to 0.14, but I always like my satin stitch to be wider. So I'm going to make it 20. And then this part right here, I don't want it to put another a satin stitch around that. So I just push replace right there. And then I'm going to say, okay. And that turned that into an applique just like that. I have 3 steps just like I want it, and I've made an applique. Then I can go back and do the face and the tail and the hands and everything else. But I'm going to undo. So now I've got a running stitch, and I'm going to hit Applique Wizard again. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it I want it to do an E-stitch. An E-stitch looks like a blanket stitch. I never liked the default. It's 20. It's a little bit too long. I'm going to bring it down to 14 and then leave that at replace and say okay. And it's going to make another kind of applique stitch. It's got a placement stitch. Lay your fabric on top of that, sew the fabric in place, trim it off, and then do a blanket stitch around the outside. This will make it look more like a basically like a handmade applique. So that's what I'm going for this little monkey. So this is one of the things I like about the PE design software is it automatically makes an applique, and that is a lot easier. I could do that on my Stellaire if I want to, but you've seen some of my previous videos where I've showed you how to make an applique, like I did the cauldron applique and I did the shoe applique. I've done several of them with the Stellaire. That's why I don't want to do it again on this video. But you'll see that you have to create the outline, and then you have to create the cut down stitch, and then you have to create the satin stitch. And this one, I just did it for me all in one step. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and do all the rest of the pieces. I want to do the head and I want to do the tail and create them all separately and then stack them on top of each other. And the best way for me to show you that is just to show it to you all finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to New, and it says Save Changes. And I'm going to say no because I've already saved this, so I don't need to save changes. And then I'm going to import from File. And here's my monkey right here, and I'm going to import it. And you see that I've done every single one of these. Here's the little body one. Here's the arms. I did the ears, and then the head, and then the face. And you want to do that in the right order so that it sews the parts that cover up the edges, like the edges of these ears are going to be covered up by his head. And then the face is going to go on top of that. I did the hands first and then the body, so the body covers up the edges of the hands. So everything is in the right order. If you ever want to move the order of things around, you can move them around over here by dragging them up and down. And then I put the eyes and the heart on there for it to be all finished. This whole process probably took me about an hour. It was very easy to do. So one of the things I want to show you right now that is really exciting for me is that you can actually send this to your machine. I have PE Design 10, and PE Design 10 does not give you the capability to wirelessly send things to your Stellaire sewing machine. But Brother has a new app that's absolutely free that you can search for. I'm going to reduce this down. And oh my gosh, look at my desktop. Look at all my babies. These are all my children, my grandchildren, and some of their significant others in here. So, okay, so let's just move. I'm going to move this recording thing up and out of the way. And then if you go over here, this says Brother Design, and the actual name of it is Brother Design Database Transfer. And it's an app, and you can get it free from your app store. Just Google it. So I'm going to double click that, and it opens this up like this. And it actually kind of looks like the database that's in your machine, but this one will do this wirelessly. So if I hit this part right here, it says looking for sewing machines. And I've already set this up for my Stella sewing machine. And if you don't, you could push add and it'll search until it finds it, and then you can click on it. And then once you click on it, it'll appear right here. So it says it's going to send it to my Stella. So I'm going to hit my monkey applique. I'm going to push down, and then I'm going to say send that to my sewing machine. And it says finished that fast, and it sent it to my sewing machine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my sewing machine, and I'm going to show you that my applique appeared on there so that we can sew it out. Okay, so I finished my monkeys on my PE Design software, and I've got it on my Stellaire embroidery machine right now, and I'm sewing it out. In the meantime, I'm going to show you how to do this kind of like the old-fashioned way, but we're still not doing it by hand. We're going to use our sewing machine. So this is this book that I showed you before, and I'm going to open it up, and this is a Santa Claus panel that I want to do next. I want to do the entire quilt eventually. So what you have to do is you have to trace this. And one of the best things about it is it is completely already backwards. So when I trace it, it will be the right way. And I'm going to do this with this, which is Steamacine 2. And the reason why I like Steamacine 2 is because it's sticky on both sides, and it'll stick down before I get ready to iron it. And on this one here that I already started tracing, there's some, I don't know if you can see it, but there's some little yellow dotted lines, and on the other side it's white. I want to do it with the yellow up simply because once you get ready to do this, you have to remember which one's the right side and which one's the wrong side. And if you put it down wrong, you're going to end up with one backwards and one not backwards. So I'm going to trace this out, and I'm just going to lay it, and you can see that it's very see-through. So it's really easy to trace it. And all I have to do is just use any kind of a pencil and just follow that line. And I don't even worry if I get it exactly straight, because I will cut it straight when I get ready to do it. So this beard actually comes up this way and this way. And then the mustache is on top, but I'm going to move my paper over, and I'm going to do the mustache separately because it's a separate piece of fabric. And then when I get ready to cut this out, I cut it out so that I got a little space around it. I want to have a little bit of extra room like this, so that when I get ready to cut it out for real, I'll get right on the line. And this one here is let me show you the real beard that I have cut on. I've got it on a piece of off-white fabric, which is what I want to do it on. So this is the real beard. Let me get this book out of the way. And I'm going to cut that, and I have made sure that this is the sticky side. I peeled it off. The yellow is the up. And that way I'm putting it on the back side of the fabric. And that way I know I've got it going the right direction, because I've got the yellow side up and the back side of the fabric. So then I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to cut right on the line. This one here, I cut it out just a little bit. So I'm going to go right inside that line just a little bit. That's okay. It'll be fine. And I'm going to cut it out. Now, another thing that this book does that's really cool is it tells you right here in the book, on the one that you're working on, here's Santa Claus right here. It tells you how much fabric to cut to make this quilt square. And then when you turn the page, it tells you up here on this part of the page exactly what size to cut those squares before you sew them together. So I have got a square that I have sewn together. That's ready to go. So I can go ahead and start stacking my Santa pieces on there. And here's my Santa body, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut that out. And then I can peel it away. Let's see if I can get this peeled away. And then I can lay it exactly where I want this to be. And if I'm not sure, if I go, oh, wait a minute, which way did that go? I'm going to get my book again. Don't drop your book on the floor, though. And I'm going to look at Santa here and make sure that I did it right. And actually, I didn't do it right. I did this one completely backwards. So you can see even I get confused sometimes and do it the wrong way. So I'm going to have to go back and flip that around and do it the right way. So I did that one wrong. But then you stack the pieces on one at a time until you get them all on there. Like his beard would probably go next, and then his hand would go right here, and then you slowly but surely stack it together. Now I want to show you one that I've already done. I did this angel before. And I sewed out the whole square, and then I stacked them up. I put the body first, then I put the heart, and I put this back wing, and then her hair, then her face, then the top wing, then her hand, her arm and her hand. And so you got to make sure that it's stacked right. And once you know you've got it right, then go ahead and iron that whole thing into place, because it's sticky, so it'll stay where you want it to stay until you know you got it right. And then you're going to iron over the whole thing. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how easy this is to sew on here. Okay, so we're still over here at my table, and the reason is because I want to show you something. So after I turned off the camera, I looked at this. Here's Santa Claus. This is the backwards version. And when I went back to check to see if I had it right, I looked at the backwards version. So it's another one of those things where my left-handed brain just doesn't seem to get it. But basically, this is not where I want to check it. This is where I want to trace it. This is where I want to cut it out. But when I get ready to check it and make sure I'm doing it right, on the back side of the book, here's the way he goes. He goes the other direction, and here he is going the other direction with his hand up going this way. I haven't put the candy cane and the stars on there yet, but I stacked him up. I put his body and then his hand and then his beard and then his face and then his hat and his mustache. So everything seems to go good, and I'm going to get ready to go ahead and sew on that one as well. So I just needed to come back and show you that sometimes I get a little bit confused, but in the end, we're all going to get it right. Okay? Okay, we're at the sewing machine now. And before we start to sew, I want to show you this foot, which is a little bit hard to see. But this foot is called an open toe foot. And as you can see, it has an open toe. So it's really easy for you to see where you're going. And this little black line that goes right down the middle of it is going to help us put the edge of our fabric on there so that we can line up the edge and know exactly where we're going. And if you flip it around to the back side, it has like a little channel right in here that will allow the fabric and the thread, if you're doing a satin stitch, to slide underneath it instead of bunching up. If you have a problem when you do satin stitching, making the stitches really close together and it bunches up, you need this foot because it's going to work a whole lot better. You can use your end foot. I like the end foot a lot. It works good, but this one's clear. You can see through it. It's a great foot. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with Brother sewing machines, but it's definitely a good add-on. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my machine. And I have black thread in my sewing machine, not embroidery thread, just plain old sewing black thread. And then I'm going to flip this over. Here's my Santa Claus. And hopefully I have my camera in a place where you can kind of see what I'm doing, but it won't get in the way of my sewing. And I'm going to start at an easy place like right here. And I'm going to put that black line right there so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to pick a stitch. And it's kind of hard for me to show you what stitch it is, but I'll put a picture of it up in the corner. On my sewing machine, it is on the third menu and it's number 4. It looks like a blanket stitch, but I have to mirror image it. And I have to change it to 3.0 instead of 3.5. Otherwise, it's a little bit too long. In fact, sometimes I make it down to 2.5 instead of 3.5. And I change it down. So you can go ahead and make some changes on your machine. It doesn't matter whether you have a basic little Brother sewing machine with just a few stitches or you have a big fancy one. You should have a blanket stitch on there. Now, I've done this enough times that I know that this is going to make 6 stitches. It's going to go over to the side. I've got the pivot feature on. I want to turn that pivot feature off. One of the things that's really nice though is that with this machine, if I take a stitch and then I take my foot off the pedal, the machine stops. I could literally take one stitch and make it go one stitch at a time, which I really like because that puts me in control. And sometimes it makes this a very slow going, but it's worth it because I end up with something I really like. So I'm going to go around this curve and I can speed up a little bit on this one. I'm just going to keep my hand here and I'm going to turn it like this as I go. And it'll work itself around that curve. And I'm keeping the edge of the red right in the middle of that black line. Now I'm going to stop and I'm going to kind of pivot it a little bit as I go so that I can go there. And then I'm going to slow way down and count my stitches. And then I'm going to do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Over, take my foot off the pedal. Hit my reverse button, hold it down, let it tie a knot, and then hit my scissor cutter. Now, that was an easy one, but let's do something that's not so easy. Let's go around. I'm going to flip it completely around, and let's go over here to his mustache. So we're going to, well, let's do this. I want to make it a little bit hard. We're going to go right here, and we're going to sew back and forth. And it's going to do a blanket stitch. And now I'm getting close to the inside part of his mustache. So I want to go really slow. 3, 4, 5, 6, over, take my foot off the pedal. Pivot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, over, take my foot off the pedal. Pivot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, over, take my foot off the pedal, pivot. So you can see what I'm talking about. It's slow going sometimes to do it this way. All I can think of is sometimes it's slower to do it by hand. You could do it by hand the same way. I don't like to go through the heat and bond and everything by hand, though. That's a bit of a pain. And I'll tell you something else. The whole method of turning it under and sewing it by hand, to me, takes longer. I just don't want to have to do that. So I'll do it the raw edge applique, iron it down, and do it like that. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to let it stop right there so I can completely pivot it this way. I know it's going to swing over first, but that's okay. It's going in the right direction. And then it's going to start going this way. And that's going to work for me. And I'm going to keep going until I do this whole Santa Claus. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you some of the things. This Santa won't be finished, but I'll show you some of the other things that we've done and you get the idea. Okay, so I finished embroidering out my monkey and it came out really cute. If I had to do it again, I probably would have went ahead and did that satin stitch around the edges because I'm not as crazy about the raw edge applique on this. But it did come out really cute. I went ahead and used my Stellaire to put in some of those quilt fills in the back, and I made it into a little baby pillow, which I'll probably give to my great-granddaughter, so hopefully she'll like it. That came out really cute. And then this is just an example of some of the other kind of applique that I do right on my sewing machine, like I was showing you how to do it. You cut out your shapes and then you go ahead and you stitch the black around it. And you can see it comes out really pretty, and it has a kind of a rustic, old-fashioned feel to it. And it looks like you did it by hand, and only you and I know we do it on our sewing machine. And I sewed some buttons on it to make it even cuter. This will go into a quilt that will eventually be finished in the store, so you can come and see it when it's all done. And this is also going to be done. This one's going to have more of a Christmas theme when I get finished with it. But I thought this one came out really cute too. Same idea. Black thread around the edges with a blanket stitch. So hopefully you learned a little bit about applique in this one, and you had a good time watching it. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.